Check. 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go.
Live from a NASCAR bunker in Kyle's parents' basement, it's Turn the Radio Off with Mike Parsons and Kyle Bauer.
Become a fan at Facebook.com/TTRO Show. Follow along on Twitter.com/TTRO Show. Or just listen right now. It's Turn the Radio Off.
Well, here I am, 32 years old, talking to myself alone in my basement. It is Turn the Radio Off, and I'm flying solo today because, sometimes life gets very busy and it gets away from you. And my good friend and co-host Kyle Bauer has not been here in 3 weeks. And normally this is the portion of the solo show where I make fun of Kyle for his lack of commitment and his laziness, except these past 3 weeks have actually been my fault. I'm sure many of you out there who are working many hours to rub two nickels together in hopes of getting a dime know that certain times you get overwhelmed, and when you come home, schedules change, things change, and Kyle and I have decided to record this show on Wednesdays, and I decided, since my affiliates over at PendulumPodcast.com have been so gracious in working with me, Steve and Jason over there, that I got to give them something. So you got me by myself this week, and hopefully next week Kyle's back, and it's funny, you know, because life changes. Once upon a time, just about every episode that Kyle was gone, it was his fault. And I guess I'm just making up for the past, 5 years? 6 years? So that's what's going on with that. And if anyone out there can locate a podcast of the Star Sale WXOU anniversary episode, I'd really like to hear it. Paul, one of our greatest supporters, revamped his show for a recent college radio reunion, and I would like to support him back by listening to his show, going on his magical musical journey, as well as getting that download number up a little bit, like he has for us for so many years. Really, I just do the show for him. He's the only one that I know for sure is listening. I have to say, I kind of half believed that we as a country were all debated out, right? It seems like, I think the first debates, they were the Republican debates. They started last summer of 2015. And at first it was interesting. It was fascinating. I don't think anyone really watched it for any substantial discussion. I think everyone was watching it for the shit show aspect, which really this campaign has become. It's become a circus. It's become pro wrestling. It's become National Enquirer. And I often wonder myself, okay, I'm 32. I've only been voting since 2004. That was the first election that I was able to vote in. Is this year particularly crazy, or have I just not been around long enough? And then I hear from people who are in their 60s and 70s, no, this is batshit crazy. And it seemed like the Republicans had about 7 debates before the Democrats had one. Actually, I think it was a 3-to-1 ratio. But I feel like it's almost become a weekly thing. And I have to be honest, probably about 6 debates in, I lost interest. But I forced myself. To watch the first ever Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton debate, because there's so much intrigue, and I guess if there's one thing Donald Trump knows, he knows television and he knows how to build the dramatics. And, of course, they have a history of friends, and now there's a bitter mudslinging out on the campaign trail. And I myself was tuning in to see sort of how things would go when they came face-to-face. And it seems like the general consensus, unless you're a total Donald Trump slap or a total anti-Hillary slap, the general consensus seems to be that Hillary Clinton won this particular one, which, if you remember back to 2012, losing the first debate, it hurts, but it's not fatal, because I remember the first debate back in 2012, Mitt Romney came out guns blazing, and Barack Obama looked like he just kind of rolled in off of he just rolled in off the golf course or off the basketball court or whatever he does in his spare time, and Mitt Romney trounced him, and Barack Obama ultimately went on to win that election, re-election, as you know. But it was sort of like that, but the opposite. The Democratic candidate was prepared, and Donald Trump just sort of blew in, and 5 minutes before sat down at his podium, and he looked tepid. He looked unsure of himself, and I think that's because he knew that he wasn't speaking to an audience where he just read off Breitbart and drudge talking points and pick the low-hanging fruit. He knew that at least half the people watching were Hillary supporters, and there were some votes to be won. So he looked like he was kind of on his heels. For the first time in this election, he looked unsure of himself. And the coverage leading up to it, a lot of what people were saying was that these are the two least popular candidates to ever run for president. But the debate was expected to get record viewership, and it did. It got about 84 million people, which is a brand new record for a presidential debate. And of course, it was on every network, and really, it was the only thing that was on TV that night. So you really had no choice. But still, I mean, people have choices now. They have more choices now than ever. You can watch reruns of something on cable. You can watch your DVR. 84 million people tuned into this, and I'm looking at this. And I'm saying to myself, what does this say about us as people? We're watching two folks who we hate bicker back and forth like children. And, oh, by the way, it's the most watched not only debate, but probably television event of the year. I guess I would have to look up the Super Bowl numbers, but it's close. It's close there. And I don't know. To me, it seems like we're masochists. Right? We love to be angry. We love to be pissed off. And it seems like the two candidates who either evoke the most anger or pacify, validate our anger, are the ones doing are the ones who did the best in this election season. And if that trend continues, it looks like Donald Trump will be the president, because he seems to evoke and justify the most anger out of pretty much anyone who's ever run for president. And of course, there's the theories about him. A lot of people think, oh, well, his whole thing was to destroy the Republican Party and then throw the election so that Hillary Clinton will be president and the Republicans will look like fools. And, based on his performance in the debate, I'm not saying I believe it, but I could see why somebody believes it. But this kind of leads me to a theory that I've been working on in my head for a very, very long time. I see meme after meme online of usually someone in an anonymous mask saying, does anybody get the feeling that the media is feeding us a bunch of stuff that's insignificant so that the powers that be can get away with things, and we'll be so distracted worrying about insignificant things that we won't realize that the Pentagon lost $6 billion or whatever whatever the latest conspiracy theory is. And I think we need to stop either pretending or stop believing that we're not responsible for that. Okay? Once upon a time, the New York Times was called the quote-unquote gatekeeper media. And that means that the New York Times decided what was news. What the New York Times had in their newspaper, at least on a national level, determined what the TV stations would cover, what the newspapers would write about, what talk radio would talk about. But that's changed because now these media companies, they have real-time data and analytics to see what people are clicking on, to see what people are sharing, what people are commenting on. So really, those of us readers and those of us consumers, we're the gatekeeper media. So, if you're tired of reading about the Kardashians, stop clicking the articles. If you're tired about hearing the mudslinging between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and want something more substantive, whatever that means, whether it's the Pentagon losing $6 billion or it's a new law going into effect, well, then you need to stop clicking on these things. You need to stop sharing these things. You need to stop discussing them because all they're doing is giving us more of what we want. Whether we know we want it or not, we're still consuming it. So if you're sick of what you think is shoddy news coverage and you're sick of stories that you don't feel are relevant or important, then stop feeding the beast. And like I said, I don't think people are in denial. I just don't think they know. And they're more than content to post these memes about, how dare you care about this? Don't you know that the government is poised for a takeover of Texas or something like that? And they just, it's almost like it's an ego stroke for these people because they're holier than thou. But no one ever says, hey, look, all they're doing is writing about what gets clicks. So if we stopped, if we cut off those clicks and started paying attention to things we felt was more important, that's what they would give us. They just give us more of what they want, and I feel like that's sort of a microcosm of this election. We're hitting ourselves in the toes with sledgehammers, and we're blaming the system. Or we're blaming the media, and people seem to gravitate towards whatever just happens to not be the two mainstream candidates, right? First, it was Bernie Sanders, and he put up a hell of a fight, but he ultimately, for one reason or another, whether it was because you felt like the Democratic National Committee jobbed him, which it kind of did. But for whatever reason, he didn't get as many votes as Hillary Clinton. And then people said, oh, well, Bernie's out, and these two people are terrible, so let's Gary Johnson's my guy. Gary Johnson is my guy because he's just not these two people. And then Gary Johnson goes out there, and he proves to be kind of a I got to be honest. I'm not that well-versed on Syria. I thought Aleppo was a dog food, but I'm not running for president. And Gary Johnson goes on MSNBC, and he doesn't know the name of the city where all the fighting is going on in Syria, and he proves that he doesn't know much about international relations, which, why would he? He's a libertarian. Their platform is leave me alone and stay off my lawn. But people saw that and said, oh, well, geez, if this guy doesn't know what's going on in Syria, then he can't keep us safe over here in America. So it's just, we hate Donald Trump, we hate Hillary Clinton, yet they still got nominated. We think that coverage of the Kardashians, we think that coverage of Brangelina's breakup is stupid and frivolous, and and we wish they would cover more substantive issues, but we're the ones dictating what gets clicks and what these media companies are going to give to us, because we're showing them exactly what we want. And I don't think it really does a whole lot of good to get up on your soapbox and start scolding people. What you have to do is you just have to change yourself. So start with yourself, and if you see something if you see something online that you don't feel is relevant, instead of clicking "who cares" or reading it then clicking "who cares," just scroll right past it and click on something that you feel has more relevance to your life. Let's turn the radio off on the internet.
Less rock, more talk. Turn the radio off.
Become a fan at peoplehatemypodcast.com.
Coffee, decaf, tea, and hot chocolate. Those are the hot drinks that you serve, so get set. Hot cups come in two sizes. Small and large, you fill as the need arises. Coffee's holding time is 30 minutes, that's so long. It can stay there before it starts to taste too strong. Hot, careful when you pour it. Hold it steady upon the counter, let it sit. Pour it in until the coffee reaches the line. Pop a top on it, gets a lid every time. Wendy's coffee tastes so fine. Hot drinks really get you going. Warms you up when you feel you're slowing. Wendy's, we always serve it right away. And a smile and have a nice day. Next is the cafe brew, it's just like coffee. Use the orange pot, it makes it easier to see. But if you're using the packets in your store, put it in the small cup, and furthermore, add hot water up to the line and stir it in. Put a lid on and serve it on a tray again. Get a small cup when you're ready for hot tea. Fill with hot water, it's easy as can be. Put the lid on and set the tea bag on the top. If they want lemon, it's very nice. Don't think twice, give the guests a juicy slice. Hot drinks really get you going. Warms you up when you feel you're slowing. Wendy's, we always serve it right away. And a smile and have a nice day. Grab a small cup when you're making hot cocoa. Pour the packet and then you add your H2O. Use a clean spoon and stir it till it's all mixed up. Toss the spoon out and put the lid on the cup. Things are really looking up. Hot drinks really get you going. Warms you up when you feel you're slowing. Wendy's, we always serve it right away. And a smile and have a nice day.
Switch off the radio. Turn off the radio. Shut down your radio system.
We'll do it live!
What?
I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Turn the radio off. There you go. I'm drunk.
Well, since that first segment of the show, and really just about the majority of our shows since the beginning of this election season has focused on sort of trends that I've noticed in this presidential campaign. I've noticed another thing that it isn't necessarily specific to the presidential race. It's just something that I've noticed more and more as more crap gets thrown out there and we turn against each other and start more internet fights. And that's and it's a big reason why I don't debate a whole lot anymore. I've kind of learned to, if I see something that I disagree with, I'll just sigh and scroll past it because, look, life's too short. Offline, I've got a good life. I'm going to go enjoy that life without having to get into a flame war for 2 hours with somebody who they're not going to change my opinion. I'm not going to change their opinion. I like that kind of debates that stay civil and their exchanges of ideas, but for the most part, it just kind of devolves into name-calling and thinking each other's an idiot. And if it happens enough, I've unfollowed a lot of people who I plan to follow back after the election's over, because, as I say all the time, we're all very nice people until we start talking about religion or politics, and then we're just awful. And what's been happening a lot lately is that people have been writing other people off based on one issue, and it's not fair. And for the most part, if I disagree with you, I don't like to unfollow you, because I like to get all I like reading opinions of people who disagree with me. Now, it's nice to be validated and read opinions that I do agree with, but I also like to read opinions I disagree with. And there's certain people out there who I disagree with, and we'll go back and forth, and we might even get angry with each other, but we remain friendly, and I learn a lot from those people. And there's been a lot of times when I argue with someone or I debate with someone, have a intelligent civil debate with someone who I disagree with, I'll either cement my own position, learn how to better defend it, or sometimes I'll get totally housed, learn something new, and change it. So I think civil discourse is great. I think that if you unfriend everyone who disagrees with you, you live in an echo chamber, and you're doing yourself a disservice. But there's certain people who, if I read something you post a couple times, I get angry. We go back and forth, and we don't have any constructive conversation. I don't defriend you, but I unfollow you, and then after the election, I'll follow you back, and we can all be friends and kumbaya. But going back to a trend that I've noticed lately, it's when someone you initially agree with says something crazy, and now you look crazy, and this happens a lot. And it's another reason why I no longer debate 85% of the stuff I disagree with online, because there's crazy people on both sides. So it's easy to paint the other side as just batshit crazy and write them off. But then sometimes someone agrees with you and they're batshit crazy, and you're like, oh God, now I look batshit crazy too. It happened to me this week. A kid I went to elementary school with posted a meme from The Daily Show. And I do not know why this woman keeps showing up all over my newsfeed. I've been able to successfully purge my timeline of Nicole Arbor. But this Tommy Lauren chick, the Blaze.com's voice of white outrage, shows up on my page all the time, and she's just the worst. She's pandering. She's robotic. You could tell that she's reading off a teleprompter, where if I ever hear her have a take on the president and his teleprompter, I'm just going to lose my shit, because she's the worst prompter reader I've ever seen. And let's be honest, every president since the beginning of teleprompters has read off of a teleprompter. But, of course, she had a hot take, a blazing hot take, if you will. They should brand that, Glenn Beck. I know your company is in trouble, so if you want to use that as branding, you can. It'll be a charitable distribution. I'll write it off on my taxes, and maybe it'll help you guys turn things around. But her blazing hot take about Colin Kaepernick says, if this country, the country you have so much disdain for that allowed you to speak your mind, it protects your right to be a whiny, indulgent, attention-seeking crybaby. It also protects my right to shred you for it. Ooh, Tammy, whatever the hell your name is. Talking about whiny and indulgent. I mean, you're 24, all right? You have a job as a prompter reader, and the only reason that you're successful is because you're somewhat attractive, and you're nagging, and for some reason, the alt-right loves to see a somewhat attractive woman nag an invisible boogeyman or nag someone who dares speak out against injustice without them being able to defend themselves. Now, this was a meme from The Daily Show, because underneath it says it's a picture of Trevor Noah responding to her, saying, "I love this logic. Shut up and be happy that no one forces you to shut up, because that's what makes this country great, that you can complain, so stop complaining." And I agree with them, because she goes on to say that if he was in another country, if he spoke out against the government, he could be killed and everything. It's like, oh, okay. Well, because other countries don't have the same rights as we do, I should be grateful and not exercise the rights that we're lucky to have. Well, I'm glad to see that there are people out there who are annoyed with Tomi Lahren, because I have a lot of conservative friends. She made the rounds in the conservative circles, and I was kind of in an echo chamber where I seemed to be the only one that was kind of annoyed with her. So a friend of this friend of mine wrote, and language alert, "This bitch is nothing but a cunt reading off right-wing bumper sticker slogans and memes." Now, I'm not a fan of calling women the B word and the C word, but, she spouts a lot of vitriol. So, if you're gonna run with the big dogs, stay off the porch. No, that's not a great... Look, she's dishing it out, so the B word and the C word, even though I wouldn't use those, if you dish it out, you're going to have to take it. So, of course, I comment with, she's not the worst, but she's pretty close to it. I don't wish her any ill will, but I just wish she would stop showing up on my feed. And this is where the guy who I initially agreed with said something crazy. Now I look crazy. Now everyone on this thread who agreed with him to begin with looks crazy. He says, her background is a joke. Military brat who grew up in the lap of a communist system with do-nothing sponges for parents who paid for everything, including her schooling. Like I said, I think it's out of line to call her military parents do-nothing sponges, but the point that she had everything handed to her growing up, and now she's the voice of white indignant outrage, and how that's kind of disingenuous makes sense. And then he says, "I hope she gets brutally raped." Whoa! Wait a second. No matter how annoying I find this woman to be, you never wish that on anybody. I mean, I don't even wish that on people who do terrible, heinous things. So, of course, me and everyone else who agreed with them said, "All right, man, you're going a little bit over the top, okay? We were with you until the brutally raped thing, but that's going that's going above and beyond. That's going way overboard." And we're all like, this is hyperbole, right? You don't really want her to get raped. And he says, what's he say? He says, "No, she deserves rape. I hope she gets raped." And now I'm just like, crap. At first I agreed with this guy. The chick's annoying. She's entitled. She got a plush gig handed to her, and she's race baiting. She's picking the low hanging fruit, and I agree with all that. But now this guy's saying he hopes she gets raped, and now it looks like everyone who agreed with him is hoping for bad things upon her. So this is why I stay out of online arguments, because emotions are running too high. There's too much vitriol out there. And even people you agree with 85% of the way will go and they'll just veer right off into the left field. Honestly, in this particular online discussion, I would rather be painted on the side of the people who support her and didn't wish anything bad on her than the people who are annoyed, than the person. It was one person who was annoyed, who doesn't like her, and said terrible, heinous things about her. Because we see it all the time. one bad apple spoils the bunch. We hear about police officers shooting unarmed victims. And even though that's a very small percentage of police officers, now all police officers are painted with that broad brush. When protesters get violent and start rioting and looting, it's a very small percentage. But after that, it's what people hear. It's the most salacious thing. So now all protesters are painted with that broad brush. And then I feel like that's what happens in these online arguments. There were 7 people who found this woman objectionable. One of them wished terrible things on her. The rest of us spoke out against them. But now we're all going to be painted with that broad brush. So that's why, unless I know the people very well, I stay out of these online arguments, because honestly, after that, we spent most of our time trying to denounce the terrible things that this guy wished upon Tammy Lauren, because well, we understand nuance, and we understand that just because you dislike someone or what they say doesn't mean you wish the most heinous act upon them that could ever happen to a human being. Let's turn the radio off on the internet.
Turn the radio off with Mike Parsons.
No drug dealers living next to me. Pretty good deal.
And Kyle Bauer.
Yeah.
PeopleHateMyPodcast.com.
Now working the grill, Bill, it ain't so tough. But first of all, you got to check your stuff. Like a grill that's set at 250 with the meat and cheese that's ready to go. A towel to keep your station looking cool. But most of all, you got to have your tools. Are you with me now? Get ready. We're gonna lay them down. Now beats got grain to it just like wood. You got to follow the arrow to lay it down like you should. From the front to the back, you got to lay it down. Space it evenly, not scattered around. Next, you got to salt the meat from the back to the front to make the taste complete. Not too little, not too much. With a little finesse, you'll get the touch. What's coming up next is our key to success. We'll turn the meat and do a 400 press. Don't wait too long, I emphasize, or the meat won't reach the proper size. When things start to sizzle, you're ready to go. Gently turn the meat, but don't be slow. Just turn them over easily. We don't want a broken patty, that's a guarantee. Press out the corners 1, 2, 3, 4. Rock it a bit, are you keeping score? Top and bottom, left and right, and you'll get a patty that's out of sight. Press out the corners nice and wide, at least half an inch on both sides. The reason you press, you gotta think, when the meat hits the grill, it starts to shrink.
We start shrinking when we hit that grill, you know it will. We start shrinking when we hit that grill, you know it will.
When you see red juices on the top of the meat, it's time to give the turn and press a repeat. Do it again just like you did before. Do the 4-corner press just one time more. Now once you pressed it the second time, don't press them again because the meat's just fine. But when you see red juices rise, turn the patty over to the other side. Don't scrape the grill, we want it wet, you see. And keep the meat moist so it's hot and juicy. When the meat's red juices no longer rise, you can serve that patty, it'll win a prize. It takes about 4 minutes to cook, but just to make sure you can have a look. Use your tool and double check, it should be gray and moist to be correct. And order's placed, you're ready to go. Drain the meat, just like so. Once the draining is totally done, place the patty squarely on the heel of that bun. Now there you go, Billy, you give it a shot. Don't be afraid, I think you're gonna be.
Turn the radio off. Tell your friends about us. Make them like us on Facebook.
I am not sure if we are broadcasting properly.
Turn the radio off. Online and worldwide. TTROshow.com.
Geez, I guess I didn't like the end of that old school Wendy's training video on how to make hamburgers. It is Turn the Radio Off. It's a abbreviated version today because, well, I'm by myself, and fuck it, I'm not getting paid to do this. But before I go, there's quite a dichotomy this week when it comes to when I say beloved, I don't know. Is Carmen Harlan beloved? I would say she's pretty popular here in Detroit. But when it comes to broadcasters who have become institutions in their medium, in their market, in their world, retiring. Now, nationwide and in the world of sports, Vin Scully has he hasn't really been doing a farewell tour. He's an old school broadcaster who doesn't want a whole lot of attention heaped upon him. He comes from the old school of you're really just there to describe the game. The game's the star, and your job is just paint the picture. But Major League Baseball, the big networks, they've been doing the Vin Scully goodbye tour. And the other night, he called his final game for the Dodgers after 60-some-odd years, which, that just doesn't happen anymore. And then, of course, this week, it was last week, here in Detroit, after 38 years, Channel 4 anchor Carmen Harlan announced that she was retiring. And 38 years is longer than I've been alive. 38 years is longer than most people I know have been alive. And, we're kind of at this point in our lives, those of us in our early 30s, where the people that we've grown up listening to and watching on TV are retiring. At Channel 7 a couple of years ago, there was a mass retirement exodus. Channel 4 recently with Carmen Harlan, Chuck Gatica, who retired, and then he came back, and Ruth Spencer. And it seems like these things go in cycles, right? If you're let's just take television, for example. If you're a television station, I think that there's a school of thinking where, okay, what you want is people on TV night after night for decades, and that builds trust, and that builds familiarity. The world can be going to hell in a handbasket, but you turn on NBC and Lester Holt, even though he got a bit of crap for moderating for the way he moderated the debate, which I don't know why anyone would moderate a debate. It's a no-win situation, but that's beside the point. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. You turn on Channel 4, NBC at 6:30. Lester Holt's there. The world's still turning. It's reassuring. On 9/11, I remember I flipped on ABC News. Peter Jennings was there. Peter Jennings was very straightforward. He was very calm, and so these people are in our living rooms. These people are on our radios, night after night for decades. A lot of us for as long as we've been alive, and it's comforting. We know them. They don't know who we are, but we know them because they're in our living rooms all the time. And so I think there's one school that says, okay, let's build that, but let's not build it too much because we also have to be young and appealing and on the cutting edge. So it seems to be this push and pull, and it seems like Carmen Harlan is leaving on her own volition. But a lot of times you wonder, are they being pushed out, or are they or are they leaving on their own terms? And that she's not announcing a year out. It's a month, so people get to watch her one more time, a few more times, and then she's gone, and life goes on. And she's still relatively young. She's in her early 60s, so she's probably got 20 years to enjoy her retirement. But Vin Scully is he in his 90s? Let me pardon me while I do a little fact checking. Everyone, just talk amongst yourselves. Vin Scully is 88 years old, and I forgot who he was talking to because there's just been so much coverage of him leaving the game. And talking about a guy who's 88. I mean, at 88, I hope to still be breathing. And if I'm still breathing, I hope to be walking. And I can't even dream of being as sharp and with it at 88 as Vin Scully is. There's just some people who just have charmed lives, and he seems to appreciate it. But he's 88 years old, and he was talking to somebody, and pretty much what he said is that, if you retire at 60, you have 20, 30 years to enjoy your retirement. Vince Scully's 88. He essentially said he's being put out to pasture. He doesn't have 30 years. He's essentially saying, this is the last time you're going to see me before I die. And it's very heavy. And I think that most people hope to retire 1 year at 62, collect their Social Security, live off of their investments if they're smart, and travel the world, spend time with their grandkids. And then there's others who hope to work up until the day they die. And you hear the stories of these broadcasters who die in the booth, and that's the way they want it. And I see myself being the latter. I enjoy working, and I enjoy what I do for the most part. Of course, you have your good days and your bad days, but if you're lucky enough to stay employed until the day you die, that means that you're never unemployed. And really, I'm bad at recreation. I don't have hobbies. If I have too much free time to myself, I really don't know what to do with myself. I've kind of made my hobby my vocation. I mean, I'm not on the air, but radio's always been my hobby, and that's now my vocation. So I really don't know what I'd do without it. But Vince Scully, the man's an artist, and I've just been enjoying seeing interview after interview with him and how he decides in the moment what to say, how to say it. All his legendary calls, he doesn't really have a tagline, right? He doesn't have I can't believe what I just saw. And he said what he does is he describes the action, and then he steps back and lets the roar of the crowd take over. He called the Kirk Gibson 23 skidoo home run, where Kirk Gibson was pinch hitting in the World Series. He could barely walk, and he hit a home run, helped the Dodgers win the World Series. And you hear it; it's a great call, but it's very simple. And then he steps back and he lets the roar of the crowd in the moment take over. Same thing with Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron, when he broke Babe Ruth's all-time home run record, I think it was the Milwaukee Braves at the time. It was against the L.A. Dodgers, and he called the home run. He let the roar of the crowd paint the picture, and then once it started dying down, he said something very significant about how a stadium full of people were cheering for a black man who broke the record for one of the most beloved baseball players of all time. And the reason he said that is because, Hank Aaron, his road to breaking Babe Ruth's all-time home run record, it was littered with death threats. And it seems like just about any time someone of a minority race threatens, the white status quo, whether it's Hank Aaron threatening Babe Ruth's home run record or Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the national anthem, there's always a crazy contingency of people who care so much about what happens during a sporting event that they make death threats. So, I could sit here and talk about how there'll never be another one like Carmen Harlan, there'll never be another one like Vince Scully, but that's trite, and it's been done before. And look, times change, right? There's multiple channels, there's multiple outlets, there's multiple platforms, and you can't go back to the way things used to be. But there's still room, and there's still opportunity and methods for beloved broadcasters to become institutions. I mean, Jon Stewart did it before he stepped down. And I'm trying to think, maybe Jimmy Fallon right now, he might be the most beloved broadcaster. And, of course, he's doing it by traditional means. But, even though we'll never see another Bill Bonds, we'll never see another J.P. McCarthy, at least here in Detroit, or a Dick Burton, someone else will emerge. And, in this new technological age, someone else will find a way. And if you're good and you're genuine and you connect with people, it's still going to happen. Gotta go. Be back next week, hopefully with a full hour and with a co-host. Thanks for listening, Paul. Bye.
Drives me crazy. I want a life on fire, going mad with desire. I don't want to survive.